The similarities are that, essentially the mythologies that people consider to be sort of done.
There's a strange moment that happens when someone messes up in public. Not a small mistake. Not something you can quietly walk back. I mean the kind of mistake where everyone is watching, waiting, deciding whether you're forgiven or finished. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Saying, "I'm sorry," isn't enough anymore. Some apologies calm the fire. Others pour gasoline on it. And every once in a while, an apology does something rare. It actually works. What makes the difference isn't fame, it's not timing. And it's definitely not a PR team with a carefully written statement. It's how the apology lands, what's owned, and what's quietly avoided. Today, we're looking at moments when famous people were forced to apologize, and the subtle reasons some of those apologies felt real, while others left a bad taste that never quite went away. Because when someone apologizes the right way, you don't just hear it, you feel it. 1. Zoe Saldana. When standing your ground makes things worse. When Zoe Saldana took on the role of Nina Simone, she likely thought she was honoring a legend. Instead, the casting sparked immediate backlash. Critics weren't just upset, they were hurt. The issue wasn't acting talent. It was representation. Zoe, an Afro-Latina actress, darkened her skin and wore prosthetics to portray a woman whose identity and struggles were inseparable from being a dark-skinned black artist in America. At first, Zoe didn't apologize. She defended herself. She compared the role to other famous cross-casting moments in Hollywood history. And that response made everything worse. Because when people are saying, "This hurt us," explaining why you think you were right can sound like you're not listening at all. What changed the tone was what came next. Zoe eventually reversed course, fully. She admitted she was wrong. She acknowledged that the role should have gone to a black woman. No excuses, no ifs, no buts. Just ownership. That shift mattered. Her apology wasn't about protecting her career anymore. It was about recognizing harm. Fans noticed the difference immediately. The anger softened. Support followed. The lesson here is brutal, but clear. Defensiveness kills apologies. Accountability revives them. 2. Rita Ora. When lived experience isn't the same as impact. When Rita Ora released the song Girls, it was meant to feel playful, sexy, and empowering. On paper, it checked all the boxes: big collaborators, catchy hooks, bold lyrics. But the reaction wasn't what she expected. Members of the queer community pushed back hard. They felt the song treated same-sex relationships like a phase or a performance, something for attention, not identity. And that criticism came fast. Rita's first response was honest, but incomplete. She explained that the lyrics reflected her real experiences, that she'd loved both men and women. And while that was true, it missed the core issue. Intent doesn't cancel impact. To her credit, Rita didn't stop there. She followed up with a clear apology. She acknowledged that even if the song reflected her life, it still hurt people. She didn't argue semantics. She didn't lecture. She listened. That's why the apology landed. Fans felt heard. The conversation cooled. The takeaway? You can be sincere and wrong at the same time, but only humility bridges that gap. 3. David Letterman. Owning the truth without hiding behind humor. When David Letterman went on air in 2009 to admit he'd had multiple affairs, it wasn't some carefully planned moment of honesty. He wasn't clearing his conscience, he was cornered. Someone was trying to extort him, and the story was about to come out whether he liked it or not. That's what made the moment so tense. Viewers expected denial, or legal language, or some vague, "mistakes were made" kind of statement. Instead, Letterman did something unexpected. He told the truth. Plainly. On his own show. In front of a live audience. He didn't pretend he was the victim of circumstance. He didn't shift blame. He didn't hide behind celebrity privilege or attack the person trying to extort him as the real villain. He admitted he'd crossed lines. He acknowledged that the relationships involved a power imbalance, especially because they were with employees. And most importantly, he apologized publicly to his wife. That part mattered more than people realized at the time. Yes, He used humor. Because that's who David Letterman has always been. But the humor didn't feel like deflection. It felt like nervousness. Like someone trying to get through a deeply uncomfortable truth without collapsing under it. Beneath the jokes, there was accountability. And here's the key detail most people miss. He didn't ask to be forgiven. He didn't frame his apology as a request for sympathy or understanding. He didn't try to rush the audience toward absolution. Instead, he focused on repair, on acknowledging the damage and accepting whatever consequences came with it. That distinction is huge. Too many public apologies are about image control. They're emotional performances designed to make people feel bad for the person apologizing. Letterman's wasn't. It was about responsibility, about saying, I did this, it was wrong, and now I have to live with it. And the long-term outcome reinforces that sincerity. His marriage survived, his career continued, not because people forgot what he did, but because they believed he meant what he said. The lesson here is simple, but uncomfortable. A good apology doesn't erase the damage. It doesn't undo the harm. It shows you're willing to live honestly with the truth, even when it costs you. 4. Kanye West, when an apology isn't followed by change. The moment Kanye West interrupted Taylor Swift at the 2009 VMAs became pop culture shorthand for public humiliation. It wasn't just rude, it was invasive. A young artist was having her moment, and it was taken from her on live television. The backlash was immediate. Kanye apologized, then apologized again. Blog posts, TV appearances, a personal call to Taylor herself. On the surface, he did everything people usually ask for. And yet, something didn't stick. The problem wasn't the wording of the apology, it was what followed. Kanye framed his actions as misunderstood passion. He talked about good intentions, about wanting to help, and over time, similar incidents kept happening, different targets, same pattern. That's why this apology aged poorly. An apology isn't a reset button, it's a promise. And when behavior keeps repeating, the apology starts to feel like damage control instead of growth. Taylor accepted his apology, gracefully, but public patience wore thin. The lesson here is harsh but unavoidable. A real apology requires behavioral proof. Without change, words expire. 5. Nikki Glaser. When self-reflection makes all the difference. Years after making cruel jokes about Taylor Swift's body, Nikki Glaser heard her own words played back in Miss Americana. And for the first time, she didn't laugh. Instead of defending comedy as just jokes, Nikki paused. She looked inward. And then she did something rare. She explained why she said those things without excusing them. In a long, thoughtful post, she admitted she was projecting her own insecurities. That her comments came from comparison, envy, and internalized pressure. She didn't minimize the harm, she didn't blame the culture, she owned her part in it. That honesty changed everything. Taylor responded with appreciation. Fans noticed the vulnerability. Nikki didn't just apologize, she contextualized her growth. The apology wasn't about clearing her name, it was about accountability, and that's why it worked. The takeaway? Apologies feel real when they show self-awareness, not self-protection. 6. Reese Witherspoon. When you drop the celebrity card. When Reese Witherspoon was arrested in 2013, the footage was embarrassing. She argued with police, claimed status, even lied in the moment. It was a bad look, especially for someone with such a polished public image. What mattered came after. Reese didn't hide behind stress or panic. She admitted she was wrong, flat out. She acknowledged drinking, she apologized directly to law enforcement. And later, she called her behavior humiliating, not misunderstood, no spin, no excuses. Years later, she still refers to it as a human failure, not a media overreaction. That consistency reinforced the sincerity of her apology. The lesson is simple but powerful. The fastest way to regain respect is to stop trying to protect your image. 7. James Gunn. When growth is more convincing than regret. When old tweets from James Gunn resurfaced, the reaction was swift and unforgiving. The jokes were offensive, crude, and centered around topics that should never be treated lightly. Disney cut ties with him almost instantly. To most people, it looked like a career-ending implosion. What made this situation different wasn't that Gunn apologized, it was how he framed it. He didn't argue that the jokes were misunderstood, he didn't say it was a different time, he didn't hide behind irony or shock humor. Instead, he did something uncomfortable. He agreed with the criticism. Publicly. Gunn admitted he had once tried to be provocative for attention. He acknowledged that he believed being shocking made him interesting, and that he was wrong. More importantly, he didn't describe himself as a victim of cancel culture. He described himself as someone who had grown. That distinction mattered. His apology wasn't written like a plea to get his job back. It read like a reckoning with his past self. He separated who he was then from who he had worked to become, without pretending the old version didn't exist. And here's the key part. People could see the growth. Colleagues defended him. Cast members stood by him. Fans pointed out that his behavior over the years didn't match the tweets. Eventually, Disney rehired him. The lesson here is subtle but powerful. People forgive apologies that are backed by visible change over time. Growth isn't something you can claim, it's something others have to recognize in you. 8. Christian Bale. When you call yourself out first. The audio of Christian Bale yelling at a crew member on the set of Terminator Salvation spread like wildfire. It was aggressive, it was personal, and it shattered the illusion of the composed, disciplined actor fans thought they knew. But what followed surprised people. Bale didn't minimize it. He didn't say he was stressed. He didn't blame method acting. He called it inexcusable. His word, not the media's. He admitted the meltdown was embarrassing. He praised the cinematographer he lashed out at, and instead of framing the incident as a misunderstanding, he framed it as a personal failure in professionalism. That matters more than it sounds. When someone apologizes before trying to explain themselves, it disarms the audience. Bale didn't try to sound likable, he sounded accountable. And because of that, the narrative shifted. Yes, the incident followed him for years. But it didn't define his career. People moved on. Largely because he didn't fight the criticism. He accepted it. The lesson here is straightforward. When you own the worst version of your behavior, you leave no room for others to define you by it. 9. Lady Gaga. When an apology comes from pain, not pressure. When Lady Gaga collaborated with R. Kelly, the backlash didn't fully erupt until years later, after surviving R. Kelly exposed the depth of the allegations against him. At that point, silence would have been easier. Instead, Gaga spoke, and not in a way that centered herself as a brand. She explained that the collaboration came from unresolved trauma, that she herself was a survivor, that she hadn't processed what she was doing at the time. She didn't excuse the decision. She contextualized it. Then she took action. She pulled the song from streaming platforms. She pledged never to work with him again, and she explicitly voiced support for victims. That combination, explanation plus consequence, is why her apology resonated so deeply. It didn't feel reactive, it felt reckoning. The lesson here is crucial. The strongest apologies don't just acknowledge harm, they remove it. 10. Hugh Grant. When honesty beats strategy. When Hugh Grant was arrested in 1995, the scandal was unavoidable. He was at the height of his fame. Dating Elizabeth Hurley. A romantic lead with a squeaky clean image. And then came the interview. Instead of rehearsed lines, Grant looked uncomfortable, nervous, human. When asked what he was thinking, he didn't spin. He didn't justify. He simply said he'd done a bad thing. That simplicity worked. He showed concern for how it affected Elizabeth Hurley, not his career. He didn't frame himself as misunderstood. He accepted being judged, and people believed him. The lesson? Sometimes the most convincing apology is the one with no strategy behind it. So what separates a good apology from a forgettable one? It's not tears. It's not perfect wording. And it's definitely not timing. It's ownership, follow-through, and the willingness to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. If this breakdown changed the way you see public apologies, or made you rethink one you'd already judged, like the video so others can find it, share it with someone who loves pop culture psychology, and subscribe if you want more stories where image, power, and human behavior collide, because sometimes the apology tells you more than the mistake ever could.